Welcome to the program. Good afternoon. Tyrone Bowman live. Well, this is sure to create some controversy about what I'm about to talk about right now. Nevertheless, it must be talked about. So let's get down to some official business. First of all, thank you to each and every one of you who have subscribed to Tyrone Bowman Live. If there's a story that you want me to cover or a topic that you're interested in, simply drop me a comment and I'll be glad to take out the time to look it up for you and research it. Now let's get down to this story. J.D. Vance, the chosen VP for Donald Trump's supposedly re-election to the White House, he finally has admitted to the big lie that he and Donald Trump and others have been spreading about uh, black Haitians or Haitians who migrated from Haiti down into Springfield, law abiding American Haitians minding their business, working hard every day. But in an attempt to create a story that never was a story, in an attempt to gain leverage with the white supremacists, the Proud Boys, and every other type of racist group that Trump has aligned himself with, they created the big lie about Haitians eating dogs and cats and roaches and rats and anything else that you could think about. So I have a video here from MSNBC host Joy Reid, and I want you to listen to it, and then I'm going to be back with my comments, and part of it is from CNN as well. I got something for my haters on today too. So check this out.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
If I have to create stories so that the American media actually has to pay attention to the suffering of American people, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, James David, let's talk about suffering. Since you and Donald Trump's now admitted lie, Ohio's governor has ordered extra state trooper patrols of Springfield schools because there have been multiple bomb threats called in to Springfield City Hall and to local hospitals and schools, forcing the latter to close. The right-wing Proud Boys, the ones who helped attack the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021, and whose leader is serving a 22-year prison sentence for insurrection, have marched through Springfield like the KKK of old, and Haitian residents are afraid to leave their homes due to shooting threats. Perhaps the biggest threat of all, Donald Trump is threatening to come to Springfield to hold one of his low-energy, light attendance hate rallies. And thus, the junior senator from Ohio becomes the first senator in the history of the United States and the first candidate for vice president ever to admit to putting people in his own state at risk of their lives and terrorizing them on purpose, just to force the mainstream media to discuss immigration on his cynical, white nationalism boosting terms. Unsurprisingly, there are now calls for Vance to resign from the Senate due to the suffering his now admitted lie has unleashed in Springfield. Ohio State Representative Casey Weinstein tweeted after that now infamous CNN interview, quote, in the wake of J.D. Vance admitting he created the pet eating story, and as a result of the very real threats the communities and people he has targeted are now under, I am calling on him to resign as our senator. A timely reminder that Vance had his Senate seat purchased for him in 2022 for $15 million by a racist, woman-hating hedge fund billionaire named Peter Thiel, who has been Vance's only employer his whole life. And that Vance ran for Senate asking this really weird question in his most prolific TV ad.
Are you a racist?
Well, I guess JD decided to answer that question himself 2 years later with a resounding yes, by admitting that despite being paid by the voters of Ohio to represent, protect, and defend them, all of them, regardless of race, color, or immigration status, he instead unleashed what amounts to a terrorist campaign on his own constituents by amplifying hideous lies about black immigrants who were invited to become desperately needed workers in Springfield. Lies that started with ugly rumors about Haitian immigrants spread by literal neo-Nazis, which got amplified when a Facebook post that that the poster now admits was a misunderstood story about her neighbor went viral and melded with an arrest more than 100 miles from Springfield of a clearly troubled Black American woman for harming a cat, which then became what Vance himself has now labeled a meme that he felt free to amplify to stoke racism against Haitian immigrants for no other reason than to make the media cover immigration his way. That is who Donald Trump, with his own long history of racism, put on his ticket to be one step away from the nuclear codes. And despite all the condemnation, they are still doing it. Why? Because it's a strategy. Here's Donald Trump telling you that he doesn't care that James David's admitted lies stoked literal terrorism in Springfield and doubling down on the lies.
Did you denounce the bomb threats in Springfield, Ohio?
I don't know what happened with the bomb threats. I know that it's been taken over by illegal migrants, and that's a terrible thing that happened. Springfield was this beautiful town, and now they're going through hell. It's a sad thing.
So there's a term that you might not have heard before, but will unfortunately probably hear me use again, that describes what J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and their right-wing friends like Christopher Rufo and Stephen Miller are doing. It's stochastic terrorism. Stochastic terrorism is when the public demonization of a person or group of people through ideologically driven hate speech increases the likelihood that those people will be violently attacked and targeted because of those vicious claims. It's when attacks on drag queens claiming that they are grooming and sexualizing children lead to drag shows being canceled because of bomb threats. It's the right's demonization of Speaker Nancy Pelosi that leads to a deranged man breaking into her San Francisco home, searching for her so he can, quote, put her on trial, and instead bashing her husband's head in. And of course, it's what J.D. Vance has done to Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. There's also a second term you need to know to understand what these people are doing. And I promise you, I'm not making it up. It's called dead catting, making a shocking, dramatic, and usually false claim to distract from a more damaging story. It's like if a comedian threw a dead cat onto the stage to divert attention from the fact that he's bombing. And it's a technique often used by autocrats and failing leaders. Think Rodrigo Duterte in the Philippines, elected in 2016 like Donald Trump, who called on police and even private citizens to kill anyone involved in the drug trade, while he was bilking his country financially by corruptly steering government contracts to his friends and cronies. Rodrigo Duterte left office in 2022, a year after Trump got run out of Washington, and he's currently fighting to stay out of prison over the corruption and to avoid the International Criminal Court over the drug war killings. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance would very much like you to stop talking and thinking about his constant sliming of childless cat ladies that include women like Taylor Swift and some in her army of fans, many of whom are of voting age. He would like us to stop talking about his party's religious fanaticism and their determination to ban abortion nationwide using the tactics written down in Project 2025. They fear that they will lose the election in 50 days because women are so disgusted by James David Vance and Donald Trump that they won't vote for them. So what better dead cat to throw onto the middle of the stage than forcing the media to instead focus on Haitian immigrants who JD and Trump are demonizing as unhuman beasts lurking outside your door waiting to steal your cats and dogs so they can eat them. Did I mention that JD blurred a book by the Pizzagate conspiracy promoter and right-wing lunatic Jack Posobiec that's titled Unhumans?
Hey everyone, so the team decided to do a fun competition. If you're able to make a donation,
It's titled Unhumans. What better way to replace the embarrassing memes about JD's cat lady fixation and his weird possible amorous relationship with couches than to get Americans to instead post memes about Haitians eating the dogs and cats? Those are the things they want talked about, not the Republican Party's systematic hatred of women who won't stay home and churn homemade butter for their husbands and vote for the rapist and his weird friend instead of normal middle-class Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. They would much rather lie about Haitians and turn them into hate objects. And if those lies cause some Trump and Vance ignorant MAGA devotees, including the neo-Nazis who started the hate toward Haitian immigrants in Springfield in the first place, to target them, terrorize them, and I don't know, maybe even kill some of them, and maybe hurt some other innocent people in Springfield, Ohio, who are not Haitian immigrants, but just like them, are just living their lives, going to work or school and minding their business, well, so be it. James Davis says it's worth it. It's what he's got to do to force the mainstream media to join Fox and Newsmax and other right-wing outlets and podcasts in negatively fixating on immigrants. So Trump can casually announce that if he becomes president again, he will conduct a bloody mass deportation unlike anything anyone has ever seen before. And guess where Trump now says he's going to start the bloody mass deportations? Springfield, of course. All of this as Trump faces his second brush with death via a gunman shooting at him in Palm Beach, Florida, just as happened in Pennsylvania, neither of whom were Haitian or any kind of immigrant, both of whom are white, American, Trump-supporting men with guns. Joining me now is David Rothkopf, columnist for the Daily Beast.
Now, this is where I'm going to take it from here. Now, let's unpack this dynamic interview from Joy Reid of MSNBC, and let's talk about the big lie that Trump and Vance have been spewing all over the place. The big lie is that, well, before let's just deal with who they are. First of all, they had the Klan convention earlier this year, and at the Klan convention, they had the fake wrestler, fake champion Hulk Hogan, the bigot in chief. He took the stage. I guess he was supposed to be the grand star of the night, and he came there. I don't know if he's still on steroids or not, but he came there, supposedly standing up for his hero, his champion. And we all know that Hulk Hogan isn't a avowed racist. We know Hulk Hogan does not like black people. He never has. And so therefore, anything Hogan has to say, I just dismiss it entirely. But as for Vance, who calls himself a U.S. Senator, this racist, this bigot, this misogynistic, hating Neanderthal has come to the conclusion that he would come up with this so-called ingenious idea, an idea that could get innocent people killed and murdered. From who? From his buddies, his friends, the Proud Boys, the racist boys, the white boys, the white supremacists, the KKK, the modern KKK. This is what they want to happen. They want a race war to occur in Springfield, and then somehow go around the nation before the election. And when somebody gets hurt, when somebody gets killed, they will try to disavow and separate themselves from all the rhetoric that they have caused. And Trump has a nerve to talk about the rhetoric of the Democrats is what caused what unfortunately happened down in Florida. No, it wasn't the Democrats that did this. These were two white nationalists, two all white American individuals who attempted to assassinate President Trump. Let's just talk about that. They weren't black people, they were white people. And the only people that politicians love to pick on, they won't pick on the Asians because the Haitian hate bill has already been passed, so they're well protected. They won't pick on the Hispanics because they make a lot of money and they do a lot of the dirty work that lazy white people just don't want to do, like the autocrats. They will not pick on any other minority except black people because they think black people are weak. They think we are inherently unintelligent. They think that we will not stand up for ourselves. They think going back into the days of slavery, as I said before, I'll say again, in this nation, every ethnic group was welcomed to the shores of Robben Island except black people. And how did America start its Americanism? Through a bloody revolutionary war. The indigenous people who were already here, they betrayed them, they murdered them, they stole their land and everything else. I had an opportunity several years ago to read a lot of the treaties that were made. And while this right here, this is called Hater Aid. This is for all my haters. I want you to see that. Hater Aid. So I'll be drinking this periodically in your honor throughout the broadcast. So I got my Hater Aid with me. So what folks don't realize is that Springfield, Ohio has now become a central focal point of the Trump campaign. They have no issues, They can't talk about the economy because the economy is good. They can't talk about anything in the dispersion nature except they make up names in an attempt to humiliate and dehumanize Vice President Kamala Harris. This is nothing but neo-white racism on parade here in America during this election season. That's just what this is all about. Every time Trump gets before the camera, he pretends like he pretend like he don't know what's going on. He knows everything because he is the puppet master behind the scenes, creating all the confusion. He's creating the lies. He's helping to spread the falsity of things that are happening and things that are going on at this time. It's time to drink some haterade in honor of the haters who come on my page. Welcome, haters. Welcome. This is for you. Some haterade. And J.D. Vance, a senator from Ohio who claims to represent Ohioans, no, you represent yourself. So you were chosen to do the dirty work. And I'm going to talk about Trump's new attack dog, Laura Loomer. As soon as I get all my information about her, I'll be talking about her as well. So these two will do the dirty work. These two spew the lies. These two spew the hate. These two are stirring up all the bigots and the racists and all these different people. Mind you, just 4 years ago, this nation had an insurrection that occurred at the White House. And the then commander-in-chief, he allowed it to happen. He didn't do anything to stop it because that's what he wanted. And in this upcoming election, my brothers and sisters, get to the polls, get out and vote. Don't let anybody intimidate you. See, it's always down in the South where there's garbage and trash occurs. They don't come up north with it. Because, you know, black people up north, we're not going to stand for it. You're not coming to our communities. You're not going to threaten us. You're not going to intimidate us. You're not going to tell us who to vote for and who we can't vote for. And one of Trump's biggest campaign promises, to have a bloody deportation of all black immigrants who come to America. Anybody white can stay if they're an immigrant. But anybody black, they must be deported back to where they've come from. And his wife is an immigrant. Her family are immigrants. He made sure they became citizens when he became president. What? You think it's not true? Go look it up. So anything that's factual, Trump supporters don't want to deal with. Anything that's coherently plausible, they don't want to deal with. Vance is trash. Go back to his collegiate years and look at the photos where he was dressing in drag. It's a cross-dresser. He has a big mouth, a big spoiled brat, an elitist who thinks he's entitled to say and do any and everything in an attempt to help Trump to secure the White House. Well, guess what? Black women are going to be voting by the millions. And a lot of white women are going to be voting by the millions. They're going to be voting for Vice President Kamala Harris. And don't forget, senators, their seats are up for grabs. Congress, men and women, the seats are up for grabs. State legislators, their seats are up for grabs. So pretty soon I'm going to have an election, a pre-election night, and I'm going to talk about all the senatorial seats that's up for grabs, all the congressional seats that's up for grabs, all the state representative seats that are up for grabs. It's the big lie that J.D. Vance created, nurtured, fostered, and he tries to justify it by saying to bring light to who? To what Americans is he talking about? Oh, excuse me, white Americans in J.D. Vance's eyes. Because he seems to think that nobody else has enough sense to see through the lies. We've already seen through them, bruh. Gig is up. Y'all have nothing. And this time around, it's going to be another victory. Kamala Harris for the win.